plan on funding a business plan. Councillor McLaughlin?
No, and I was going to say, before we go ahead with it, it will come back here and the figures would be in front of us so that we would know what it's going to cost, if anything. And yes, you're right about the reserves, but you start to dip into the reserves and then things can happen. But anyway, let me bring it back whenever they decide, whenever they set their meeting, and see where it goes. So, just so everybody knows that the extra $10,000 is not being sent. It's not part of us deciding we're going to do it until we get the business plan and we're satisfied.
So did you want to amend that motion to include that once the business plan and...
But I still think Marcia has to put it in, and the whole idea is you've got to put it into your budget, isn't that? That's
right, but if I amend the motion
then
to say that recommends to council that a levy of $20,968.64 for the Pembroke area airport be included in the 2016 operating budget, pending the development of a business plan by the airport commission.
That's fine. If you feel that needs to be in there, that's fine.
So I'll just read the motion again. Be it resolved that the Corporate Services Committee of the Township of Whitewater Region recommends to Council that a levy of $20,968.64 for the Pembroke area airport be included in the 2016 operating budget, pending the development of a business plan by the Airport Commission. Any further discussion? Councillor McLaughlin.
I think you have to ask the mover and the seconder.
Mover and seconder. Yes.
Yeah. No, just.
No, I had before I amended it. Yeah. Not officially, but I looked their way.
Okay. I just want to make sure everything is dotted.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. And there's nothing else on Corporate Services Committee. I'll pass it over to Councillor McLaughlin.
Okay, I'll call the Environmental Services Committee to order, and the first item on the agenda is landfill maps, site mapping, and I'll turn it over to Steve.
Thank you, Chair. Following there was some questions from the strategic plan meeting that I wasn't in attendance, but I understand there was some discussion on the landfill. So just for everybody's benefit, I put together some maps. Take them home, read them, study them, whatever you want. I don't know if it'll help or... Basically, we started working, the consultant and myself started working on the Ross landfill to get approval in 2006, and it took until the summer of 2014 to finally have all our ducks in a row and get approval to build a waste mound at 990 Colesmith Road. So if you want to look up on the screen or look at your map, Smith Road. You can see it. We enter on the southeast. We have about an 8-hectare property, but because of 30-meter buffer zones surrounding, basically along the perimeter of the property, that's legislated by MOE. So you end up with just shy of 6 hectares of landfill space. So within that space, picture a waste mound with 4-to-1 slopes.
Can you just identify which square you're talking about?
Oh, certainly.
Yeah.
These aren't really great. They show contour lines, which makes everything very complicated looking. But this is the property line. This is the perimeter of our property. And it's just over 8 hectares. And here's Colesmith Road. This is north and south. The gate is right here. We enter here. We have a little structure here. And we have all our different locations for stockpiles for recycling material that leaves the site eventually. And we also stockpile mulch or yard waste and lumber within this area. So after you take into account your 30-meter buffer zone, which has to surround the actual garbage, you're now reduced to just over 5 hectares. And within that, we're going to build a hill with its highest point being right about here, and then a 4-to-1 slope down to this corner, 4-to-1 slope down here, and then about a 5% grade to the northern corner. At its highest point, it's going to be roughly 24 feet above existing ground level. I had planted 500 trees here and 500 trees here. There's a bit of a buffer, visual buffer. But that mound will be hopefully hidden by that with the success of those trees. Your leachate plume is migrating in this direction. All of these are monitoring wells, which are sampled twice a year. Oh, sorry. So like I said, we started working in 2006 to get approval to build this hill. I'm going to sit down anyway. There's really nothing else I was going to show you on there. So I'll make this short as I can. I don't want to tie anybody up here. So on that map that we just saw, there's a smaller square where I indicated that we do all our stockpiling and recycling. So the smaller square off Colesmith Road, I drew that in myself just to show you roughly the amount of space it takes to be set up to receive the traffic quantity that we get. All our stockpile areas, recycling areas, scrap metal, all of it takes up about that much room. So this landfill has a theoretical capacity of about 27 remaining years. That's based on last year's landfill rate of we landfilled about 8,500 cubic meters of in-place compacted waste, including cover material. So based on that rate, that site theoretically is good for 27 years. But at some point in time, as you're encroaching upon filling this site, now this is not something this council will probably deal with, but if the transfer station, because eventually all of this material is going to have to find a home once this site is full. Thanks. So you can see by that square roughly how much landfill space you're going to lose if you do put a transfer site there. So that 27 years could be reduced based on your 4-to-1 slopes. You could be taking 5 to 10 years off the lifespan of the site. So I just want to, just for your information, at some point in time, we're going to need a transfer site, and if it's going to go there, that's how much land you're going to lose. And our remaining capacity is roughly 230,000 cubic meters. So just picture a hill. That's what's going to be there eventually. We have approval to do it, and it took many years to get that approval. So that's it for the mapping. I just wanted everybody to be able to sort of maybe visualize what we're going to build, what it's going to look like. Any questions on any of that?
Yeah, I think Councillor Olmsted?
Yeah, can you just define the term transfer station?
Well, once your landfill space is gone, all the waste has got to go somewhere. Now there are private landfills. So there's one in Moose Creek, on the other side of Ottawa. They take municipalities' waste. So you're going to have to find somewhere to put it. So you accept it at your site, and then you hopefully compact it at your site, and then truck it down the road somewhere for final disposal. That's a transfer station. Plus you accept all the other materials that you normally take, like tires, scrap metal, everything. You need a large area to do it, because you have on a Saturday in that small square, in a 6-hour period, there's upwards of 300 cars and trucks that have gone through there. So it's area intensive. But sooner or later, the township has to start planning for where that transfer site's going to be. I've been making phone calls and asking questions with our hauler. You don't have to wait till your landfill is almost full. We could start hauling garbage to a private landfill at any point in time. So it's something that's going to be it's on the radar. We have to start looking at it soon.
I'll go to Christine.
Thank you. And it's my understanding that there are some municipalities who are really struggling with finding anyone who will accept their waste. So the transfer. So that's why it's great that we're starting to, whether it's 10, 15, 20 years down the road, that we're giving this consideration now, because it's getting harder and harder. The same with the septage, who's going to take it. Maybe there'll be massive developments in how waste is treated at these private landfills in the future, we're all hoping.
Okay, I have one question, Steve. That transfer station does not have to be at the landfill site. Is
No.
there a designation for the property that it has to have so it can be a landfill transfer station?
What I've started to investigate a little bit on. We have a contaminant attenuation zone, a CAZ for short. In order to get the approval to build that hill, we had to purchase 2 properties around that site, basically for a buffer zone. And to the northeast, we have property that we could set it up there, continue to landfill in that site, but set up your transfer station just to the northeast. We'd have to run a few more hydro poles, but it could be done there. We own that property, and as far as the Ontario legislation is concerned, you can do your CAZ is to make sure nobody ever drills a well on that property. That's why we purchased it. So we're not affecting groundwater, so we should be able to do anything we want on the surface. So it could go to the north. That's one option.
Okay, because I just look at it, and I'll just finish. I look at it that the land within our site is very, very important. If we can get even 10 more years out of it by using that land, I would think that would be a better option than using that land for a transfer station. That's where I was coming. And I think Mayor Johnson?
I have two questions. The first one, Steve, is there any possibility that we could deter the filling if we did stripping, screening, and repacking?
You mean landfill mining? Like dig it all
Basically, yeah, you excavate it, you run it through a screening plant, if you will. You bring out all of the gravel that's in it, and you recompact it again. And some of it would be rotted quite a bit. It should recompact a lot. That's one question. The other one is if we have to move to a transfer station, are we looking at a huge compactor to allow for first stage compaction before we try to put it into shipping?
Well, typically at a transfer station, you're dumping into a large tractor trailer.
Okay.
Some of them have a cylinder and they compact within. Some of them you just load them from the top and off you go. No, you're not compacting. You're not compacting prior to putting it in a truck. With respect to your first question, the town of Barrie is mining their landfill, and it takes a lot of, well, you have to amend your certificate with the ministry, so you're looking at probably a few years of consultation and public consultation and the whole process. It's extremely slow, but yes, you can mine your landfill. The ministry's not really crazy about it, because you're digging up in place garbage. I mean, then you're dealing with more litter, emissions, attracting vermin. The list goes on. So it's not something that I don't think they really encourage. But yeah, if you wanna do the paperwork and put in the time, then you could get approval to do it. It's not something you can just do. You need approval, and that approval, as you know, takes a tremendous amount of time.
Okay, I guess in essence of time then, if there's no more serious questions, we can get into further discussion. One more? Go ahead, Chris.
Sorry, just 1A and 1B.
No, we said one.
Ken, so what prevents us now from acquiring more land around the current site to continue to use that rather than contaminating other sites or shipping our garbage out? So one, can we acquire more land within the current location now and get it approved? We have up to 20 years to do that, right?
We have approval to fill in that area. We've purchased properties around it that are registered on title as a CAZ, basically a buffer zone. So nobody ever drills a well. That's the whole notion of it. The ministry does not want anybody drilling a well when there's leachate migrating in the groundwater. That CAZ someday, based on every year's hydrogeological report that the ministry reviews, that CAZ, and my gut feeling is eventually it's not going to be big enough. We'll have to acquire a groundwater easement or purchase more land. That can easily happen down the road. So it's designated already. In my opinion, work with what you have, reduce what's going into it, sooner the better. Like our bagged waste that we collect curbside right now through a contractor, that contractor, those bags of garbage and all the bagged waste that comes into that site every Saturday and Wednesday doesn't need to go into that hole. It can be trucked down the road, and you're dealing solely with C&D going into your landfill site, which you're mulching a lot of anyway. So then that's greatly helping. So, it's just a matter of when you want to start. You could make arrangements with your contractor and set up a compacting 40 cubic yard bin on that site right now, and bags of garbage don't have to go into that site, and that can be done at any time. And it's an extremely drawn out, painful, expensive process to try to change everything we've done from 2006 to 2014. What you got is what you got.
Do you have B?
No, just in my opinion, I think it's an important enough issue. We should add it to our 5-year plan, our strat plan. That I think we have it already on there to discuss the tender coming up. I can't remember what year it was.
And that would be the time to do it.
Right. So I think we should add it to our strat plan now.
If you don't want your bag collected garbage going into that site, it doesn't have to go to that site. It could go down to La Flèche.
Okay, Councillor Mackay, and then we're going to move on.
That's some bad news. They're talking about glass, and they don't want to recycle glass. It's just a waste, bad sand, doesn't make good glass, and it costs a lot of money to take it away. And you're going to see in the future that you're going to have to take sand at the glass at the landfill.
It makes great cover material.
Smash it up.
Well, typically when you get it, it's already smashed up.
Okay. So that's I just saw that article on that. Okay, that's it. Thanks.
Okay, if there's no other questions, then I have a motion here. Before we move on, I have a motion moved by Chris Olmsted, second by Charlene Jackson. Be it resolved that the council in committee meeting of February the 3rd, 2016 will be extended. Meeting extended past 4 p.m. All in favor? Pretty agreeable. Anyway, carried. And we'll move on then, Chris, or Steve, and you can move on to the second item, which is contingency plan for Cobden drinking water system.
Yeah, so we had some short discussion. It was in one of my monthly reports that in the last inspection report from MOE for the Cobden drinking water system, that with the risk of blue-green algae blooms, I use the term microcystin, blue-green algae. When we get a bloom, we sample our treated water before it's distributed, and there is levels of microcystin in it, but it's extremely low compared to the allowable level. But in the event that someday those levels are too high, the Renfrew County District Medical Office, I think that's probably the wrong term, and the MOE will make the call as to whether we have to more or less shut the plant. Health unit, thank you. So in the event that ever does happen, the recommendation from the ministry was have a plan in place. Well, I had some consultation with our operating authority, Aqua, and they do have written contingency plans, one for the provision of an alternative water source and one contingency plan for unsafe water. And they're pretty well set up. So what happens is if it did come down to that, our operator is they've got a pretty good we just work with them on how we're going to haul water in here and where we're going to set it up. And it would be basically a team effort. And so I was pretty happy to see that and read their plans. They're pretty good. So I just wanted to update you on that because we kind of left it.
Go ahead, Christine.
Steve, obviously there would be significant costs if we ever had to go down that route. Are we considering any kind of contingency budgeting for hopefully the day that never comes where we have to truck water in here?
Well, I think we try to put money into reserves every year in water and in sewer and waste and public works. You're just going to have to draw from those reserves. I mean, we don't have we have a hard enough time just getting money into reserves, let alone another one for an incident like this. If something like this happens, you have to take the approach that you deal with it, you fix the problem, and you worry about how to pay for it later, because people need water, period.
Any other questions? If not, I'll move on to item 3. Cobden wastewater. Okay, I have a motion here, moved by Kathy Rager, second by Dave Mackay. Be it resolved that the Environmental Services Committee of the Township of Whitewater Region approves the invoice submitted by Cobden Wastewater Treatment Plan Upgrade Project Managers JP2G Consultants in the amount of $3,846.94. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Motion's carried. And now we'll move on to item 4, and the dog. I was, but I was going to move on so we could keep going. But one thing at a time, eh? Okay. Okay. Dog waste litter stations, and I'll pass it on to Mayor Johnson. It was your request.
Mostly I asked for suggestions from our CAO, and this is one of them. I've had quite a few inquiries on how we could work towards relieving dog litter problems in some of the strategic spots, mostly wide spaces, big lawns on some of our streets in our municipalities. And so one of the suggestions is to put up the signs that we have started putting up. They're actually kind of unique. And also in strategic places to add these litter boxes, which allow people to have bags for poop and scoop, I believe is the term. And so I just wanted to bring that forward due to the fact that I have been requested for that kind of participation, and actually quite a few requests. So that's my request. Thanks.
Christine.
I've checked around with a couple of other communities who are using these, and it does a couple of things. You know, for people who have brought their own bags but don't wish to continue their dog walk holding a bag of poo, it gives it a spot for it to go. It also reinforces the notion to be picking up after your pet. You know, people who live in cities, it's just normal, everybody does it, but for folks, and you know, as someone who has a lawn that gets frequently fertilized in Cobden by doggy waste that is not picked up, I think it's good to reinforce this notion that you're responsible for what your pet produces.
Any other further discussion? Councillor Mackay.
I can't see spending that kind of money on that. Bring your bag and pick up your own poop, and yeah, but they're not going to do it. If they're the people that don't do it, they won't do it anyways. You're irresponsible, you're not going to do it. There's people that go along with a little bag and a little dog. Now, being a man that owns 2 dogs but never picks up poop, I can say that. But I wouldn't let them. I have a couple hundred acres, so I'm okay. But, you know, people that do that, they're just slobs. Mark them out, but don't spend money on it. I'm not talking dog poop here, buddy.
Any other discussion? Councillor Jackson.
I guess if we go ahead with this, is there a plan as to where they would be placed? How many would be placed in each municipality, sort of thing? 6 waste stations in Westmeath, Cobden, and Beachburg, but are they actually going to be, you know, at the school, at the arena, whereabouts?
Christine?
I really hadn't thought it through that far, but I thought as a pilot project, if there were 6, maybe 2 in each of the 3 villages identified, Westmeath, Cobden, and Beechburg, at spots that made sense. We could get some input from Steve, you guys, where you're picking up the garbage now. Again, just to see if it's being used and it's helping to alleviate the problem, great. If they're just being ignored, then, you know, someone will still be using them, but and also, it will add slightly to the workload of the environmental services because Robin would, or one of your employees would also be responsible for checking them and keeping them empty. But I think that, anyway, that's a modest start in places that made sense was what I was thinking.
Okay, go ahead, Mayor Johnson.
I think that would be a good program to do, and come up with the places they need to be. But if council's not in favor of that, I would ask that maybe we could just put more signs up in these places so that people at least can feel a slight bit guilty when they're not following the procedure.
The sign look like?
Hey,
What does the sign look like?
Councillor Mackay, it'll come through the chair, please. Go ahead with your comment then.
I just said, what would that sign look like, Mayor?
we have a sign down in Doug's office, I believe it is, already that's drafted, and they're quite unique. And some of them are already up. Sorry, Steve.
Steve, go ahead.
Just so you know, people in Cobden put their dog litter in the garbage cans, and they do so at the park, at the beach, and along Main Street. There are no garbage cans in Beechburg, which I'm quite impressed with. People take their garbage home, which I think is terrific. And there is one garbage can in Westmeath, and that is on the property of Kenny's store. Just so you know.
Yes, Councillor Olmsted.
I have had, believe it or not, probably at least a dozen either discussions, phone calls, or emails about people not picking up after their pets, and 2 of them in particular were churches that called me to say, is there anything we can do because church just up Anglican Church had called and said that before this gentleman cuts the lawn, he spends 20 to 30 minutes just picking up dog crap. So apparently it is an issue.
Christine?
Yes, that same spot has put up a very creative sign, which is a drawing of a mound of doggy doo that says a no poop zone.
Well, I'll give you my comments at the last, and unlike Councillor Mackay, I live in the country. I walk my dog. When I walk my dog, I take a leash, I take a bag that comes from the store. You can get them at the dollar store. You can get 100 for $2. That is on my leash. When my dog drops, I scoop. And I think what should happen, yes, I can agree with what Mayor Johnson's saying, put some more signs up, that would be all right. But when somebody sees somebody that watches their dog, watches somebody's dog, let them know. Let them know. I think we need some education more than spending. And I'm like Mr. Mackay. I could see spending $6,000 on more cold patch, being better, and yell at the people who don't yell at the dogs. It's not the dogs. It's the person that's on the other end of the leash. They need to be educated. So I would be in favor. Yes, put up some more signs. I'm not in favor of spending $6,000 on these stations. So okay, no, and I'm not saying anything. That's my thoughts. So
Chair, I would believe that we would be accomplishing quite a bit by just doing what you just said.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But I guess I put the horse in front of the cart because I had a motion here, and I'll read it now. Moved by Dave Mackay, second by Kathy Regier. Be it resolved that the Environmental Services Committee of the Township of Whitewater Region recommends to council that 6 waste units be purchased and installed in Beachburg, Cobden, and Westmeath as a pilot project at a cost of $4,620. Okay, any further discussion? If not, I will call for a vote. All in favor? I guess opposed? Unanimous. Yeah. Motion has been defeated. It's not carried. Yes, Mayor.
Could I make a motion then that we just add more signs in the municipality where deemed necessary?
Do we need a motion, or could we just give direction?
I don't think we need a motion for that. I think that's already in the plans underway.
Perfect.
Yeah, but I will follow up on that.
That's great.
But I would like to say to the mayor, thank you for bringing that forward. I think that's a good idea. And I think that brings the Environmental Services Committee meeting to an end, and I'll pass it over to the Chair of Public Works.
Take her for the hot seat.
Hey, Darryl.
Dave, is it okay with you if I have a 5-minute break? That's what they're requesting.
Watch this and pretend I'm disappointed. And you know that comment, you're not needed? What I was thinking, you need the break. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Oh, now you're just back talking.
Yes, true.
You announced a 5-minute break.
We'll be taking a 5-minute break.
Now, if you record more than an hour's
I call the Public Works Committee agenda, or Public... Couldn't get that out. Want me to say it over again? I call the Public Works Committee to order, please. Oh, do you want to put your name on that? There's only one. Oh, is he? I only seen one. Where? Okay, sorry. Moved by Darryl McLaughlin, seconded by Charlene Jackson. Be it resolved, the Public Works Committee of the Township of Whitewater recommends council and staff direct, improve the ditches and upgrade the drainage around the Westmeath Community Center as requested by Westmeath District Recreation Association. Bill?
We've been dealing with this for a couple of years. Every year they approach us, we just haven't had time to get out there. On the, what street is that, Hal? It's above the arena. Creek goes, not creek, but the cross street there. I can't even, the name escapes me. Anyways, that's the street. Because the street is so much higher than the arena, and over time the ground is built up from cutting grass and the parking lot washing in. Anyways, they're having troubles that every once in a while in a major rainstorm or if the ice builds up, the water actually comes into the arena. So the discussion was to try and put a pipe, some sort of a recreation street, imagine that. Yeah. So to get it over into the creek and possibly put in some large clear stone in order for the rain coming off the roof not to cause an erosion problem. And that's basically it. It's outside of the road allowance, so because where the road allowance is, they use that for parking area for the hall upstairs. So it's closer to the arena. I think there was a subdrain in there at one time, but it's probably not working properly anymore. So there's just some work to do there to fix it up. And it's to get time to go and do it.
You can't do it now, though.
Not right now, no. It's a summer project.
Mayor Johnson?
Chair McKay, this is one of the ditch at the arena that you and I looked at with when we go to the soup and sandwich, and make requests when we're out there. So we asked them to get a hold of you. But I agree with what you're saying. If we can't put a pipe and make it work, we need to put an open ditch or swale, and it's starting to cause damage in the arena, which we should offset.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just that we're to direct Public Works to go ahead and do the work.
It needs to be on our budget plan. It needs to be brought to that, does it not?
So, you estimate the cost is just our man hours and some of our equipment?
Yeah, one time when we talked about doing this, I believe it was a rec association over there was willing to, if we thought we needed some big O, that they would purchase it at that time. I'd have to go back and make sure that, I believe it was Mel I was talking with at that time, but just to make sure. And then the rest of it would come out of our pit. We have some larger clear stone that screens out of our winter sand that we can use for a buffer over there.
So not a significant cost to the township?
Just man hours.
My opinion, I don't think we needed to add it to the budget, then it can come out of roads or whatever, right? It's insignificant.
Mayor Johnson?
It would probably be well under $5,000 to do that bit under there, right? With our own service people, yeah. Okay, just so we have an idea.
Darrell?
Didn't we do some work there before something was that further up? Oh, was it? Okay. I remember something that we did there, because I remember us doing some drainage work.
If you ever played baseball over there, it's a very wet spot.
No, I'm not probably the figure for a baseball player.
Chris?
In the interest of me getting out of here and getting to Ottawa tonight, can we just go ahead and vote if everybody's...
Okay.
Thank you.
All in favor? Opposed? None. Okay, carried.
I didn't draft a motion for this next item. It's a complaint regarding littering from Mr. McLeish. The difficulty is that we have no one, we could put up signs, no littering, but we have no way to enforce this and no way to police it. We don't have staff who will be standing by at the side of the road waiting for someone to litter. So I didn't know what direction you wanted to go with this, which is why I didn't prepare a motion.
Can I speak to that first? I owned a property by Garden Lake, and it was people were dumping garbage there, and we put a sign up, no dumping, and it cleared it up. So just a sign sometimes works. I think Darrell's ahead of you.
I was going to say down on Colesmith Road, the lower end on the Kerr line, from Colesmith Road to Queens Line. We, and the Rec Association gathers a bunch of people in the spring of the year, and we pick it. So, it's done, I think, and then we take it, and Steve takes it to the landfill site. So I think that type of promotion is probably better. Signage it's not cheap. No, you may be right. Maybe if you wish to put a sign up, but I'm opposed to that because I think you can put a sign up, but if somebody's going to throw something, they're going to throw it.
Councillor Olmsted?
I did talk to somebody about this, a very similar thing, about a year ago, actually before council, and he said what they did, and it's not in Renfrew County, it's outside Renfrew County, but very similar community to ours. He said what they did was they stopped making the signs sound punitive, where it didn't say, littering costs you $1,000, whatever. They engaged in what they call a proud commitment, so it would be like, keep Whitewater proud, please don't litter, that type of thing.
I like it.
And that, he said they were overwhelmed by the responses they had, or the project that they had. Now, they did go out and clean up some of the areas first, as they had Civitan clubs and school clubs and that, they did that first, but then they put up signs afterwards that said, keep, and in this case, keep Whitewater proud, please don't litter. He said it was unbelievable the response that they had, that it really cut down on the amount of littering in their community.
Yeah. Christine?
Two things. First of all, the camera program is doing something I've never seen it do before, and we've been doing this now for a year. So we may or may not be recording this section of the meeting. The only way I'd have is to shut the whole thing down and boot it up again. So I'm just warning you that if this last part of the meeting is not available on the website, there's a technical malfunction, or there may not be, I can't tell. Part two, we do a pitch-in week littering campaign. Mr. Phil Cottrell has volunteered to help us organize it this year. It's every spring. We provide the garbage bags, so there is a program already kind of underway that we're trying to grow. But certainly the positive message signs, we could order some of those and see if they're having an effect.
Councillor Jackson?
I know the county of Renfrew has Adopt a Road. I know Laurentian Valley has also done an Adopt a Road. We have some roads in Laurentian Valley that people have said that they've indicated that they'd like to adopt the road, and the cost to the municipality is to put the sign up, and I would agree that, something like that says keep Whitewater Region proud, please don't litter, adopt a road, adopted by, Rapid Road community, and then on Litter Week, that week, we provide them with a bin, and in that bin there's gloves, there's safety vests, there's the garbage bags, there's all that's there, and they take it and they go and pick the garbage up. It's left on the side of the road, Public Works picks it up, and then they bring the bin back, so that if there's somebody else that wants to use those bins, when we have at Laurentian Valley, we have about 3 or 4 bins that go out, and the sign is put up, and it's just the cost of the sign and the cost of the bin with the safety vests and the gloves and all of that, and it gets the communities involved. I know there's probably a lot of walkers along that road, a lot of walkers along a lot of roads that would be more than happy to pitch in during pitch-in week. Just an idea.
Mayor Johnson?
This road is set up so that if the sign was erected close to the start, we'd only need one sign to do the entire road, which is a bonus here. And if we decide to go ahead with that, we could use it as a test or a pilot project, a very inexpensive pilot project, and I like all of the ideas I've heard, by the way. Thanks, Chair.
Councillor McLaughlin?
Just to reiterate to what Christine was saying, because that's when we do it. I one year took on the initiative, put bags in everybody's mailbox on the Kerr line, put a poster in there saying what it was all about. I guess too many farmers, because I think there was only, and I got Bill to pick it up, and, there was only one bag, I think, and then a bunch on the, Kerr line, is that, or on, Colesmith Road, if I remember right.
Something like that.
It's hard. It's hard. I know this adopt a road, you're right. That's a good enough idea. I've seen them done. And then I see the signs up and it's done 1 year. And
Well, we pick up the garbage along our road and, it seems to work.
well, maybe you could move down further then, because there's a lot of it not picked up.
Christine?
How about for this year and for the expedience of meeting, we order one sign to go up as an experiment, and let's see, we'll get some feedback from Mr. McLeish to see if it's having any impact, and we'll take some of these new ideas and incorporate them into this year's pitch-in week, which is sometime in April, I don't have the dates right now, and continue to grow that program of community involvement.
Councillor McLaughlin?
Just to add to that program, Christine, do we still have a spot in Westmeath where they can dump it off? We did it one time, and I don't know if it was even utilized.
We haven't got that far yet for this year, but Steve and I and Bill will work on that.
I think part of your problem, Darrell, is people going to the dump on Goldsmith Road. Things blow out of the back of their truck. I see that all the time.
It's not Colesmith Road. We pick it every year from Kerr line to the Queens line.
Okay.
We pick that road because we have decided that that's probably, and you're right, it's the most waste. But you know, on the other hand, if it blows out of your truck,
Pick it up.
Pick it up.
Mayor Johnson?
In answer to the question, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but was there not a bin at the Westmeath yard last year
Yeah.
for that area?
Yeah.
Okay. And it was reasonably well used, was it not?
I'm not, there was 2 bins, one went to La Paz, one went to Westmeath, and one bin was, I think it was the Westmeath one. It had a mattress in it and very little else, so it wasn't really very well used. I think if you keep in mind, if you're talking to anybody who is interested in picking up garbage in the road, any road, they'll never be charged at the landfill. If they come in and tell me they were nice enough to do that, took it upon themselves to do that, they're not going to get charged. So, you know, we have all kinds of people that pick up garbage and bring it into the site, and they're never charged a tipping fee. Littering's a mentality. It's a terrible disrespect for community, and you're battling a mentality here. You're going to find it's not going to stop. And myself personally, I don't like the idea of spending money on trying to battle a mentality that's, you know, it's not going to go away. I pick up 4 kilometers on my road every year, and the next day, literally the next day, it's got garbage all over it. It's you know, you can beat your head against the wall with this. You're trying to deal with
No, but if we don't do that, then the roads, you know, even if you pick that up, you're doing something. You don't live in our township.
No, I don't.
Oh, no wonder the roads. Okay. Next item. Be it resolved, the Public Works Committee of the Township of Whitewater Region recommends to council and staff to direct attention to the abandoned municipal gravel pit located on Ross Concession 5E Lot 4 in the springtime to view the state of the property and property lines, then report it back to the committee with a recommendation to solve this safety issue problem raised by Zion Hill Camp. Okay, Christine.
Thank you. So we've had a letter, it's in your package, so and we can't really do anything until the snow's gone, so I'm recommending that you folks direct staff to get out in the spring, have a look, we'll come back with a report with some recommendations. They claim that it's a danger, this abandoned gravel pit, and I think they'd like to use it as a recreation area, but we can't really give you proper information on this right now because we can't really see it.
It's a small area. There's 2 gravel pits right there. We have 1 parcel. It's not very big, and then MTO has another parcel. And I think the Zion Teal Camp would like to have that piece of property eventually, but we just wanna make sure it's safe before we do anything with it.
Yeah, it's like the size of two of these rooms or something.
Yeah, it's not very big, and in my time, we've never hauled out of there.
Councillor McLaughlin?
I was gonna say, yeah, I've lived here a long time and I've never seen them draw out of there either. So I'd just like to be maybe informed of when you were going to do a site visit, because I wouldn't mind, as it's close to my area, that I'd be able to go and look at it with you.
Sure.
Mayor Johnson?
It's not licensed anyway by either MTO or the municipality.
I'm not sure, like,
I know it isn't actually.
Yeah.
So it's just a redundant piece of property, and when you go, Councillor McLaughlin, you'll see that it has been left with a sheer line very close to the fence. And if we were to turn it over to them, I think they would be responsible to make a 3-to-1 slope to reduce the danger.
Yeah.
And another thing that we might do is see if we can find out who's responsible from MTO, and maybe they would do the same as us. Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks.
Councillor Olmsted?
What would then happen to the MTO property? Because I did see that in the letter that if we did that, the MTO property would be landlocked. So, but we can give them access now through our property, right? So if we did turn it over, it would truly be landlocked then, would it not?
Christine?
So all of these items would be in the report that will be brought to you in the springtime with recommendations.
Any other comments? Okay, so do we vote on this? Okay, we're gonna vote on this, so all in favor? Opposed? Okay, carried. Okay, that concludes our public works, doesn't it?
So now we have an agenda addition going into closed session for corporate services. And this will be without staff.
That's you, get out. You go to it. No, I'm trying to go. Actually, I have to. Connie? Look here,
Erica, we'll have a look at it's never done this before, and I don't know if it's recording or not, so. No, not trying to say that. Charlene, are you coming back over here? Okay. I'm gonna give Dave back his name. Well, I guess. We'll call you Al. Hey, Al. No. At 4:50. We're not recording. No, we're not. Oh, to go into close? Yes. Well, I hope we're recording. It's telling me we are, but I'm not positive. Let's do this, right? Yeah.
Okay, moved by Councillor McLaughlin, seconded by Councillor Olmsted. Be it resolved that the Corporate Services Committee of the Township of Whitewater Region went into closed session under Section 239(2) of the Municipal Act at 4:50 p.m. for the following purpose: personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried.